Yes, Gov. I think we're due to start.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon, fellow Makati Rotarians and our lovely aunts and our dear guests present this afternoon. Welcome to the resumption of our regular weekly meeting and a joint meeting with the Rotary Club of Makati Business District, Rotary Club, and Rotary Club Makati San Antonio. On behalf of Rotary Club of Makati, a very warm welcome to officers, members, and guests from Rotary Club of Makati Business District, headed by life-changing President Rachel Harrison, and also Rotary Club of Makati San Antonio, headed by life-changing President Isa Mendoza Espina. I am Rotarian Johnny Ang, and I will serve as your moderator for this afternoon's meeting. Before I call on our president and the other presidents to officially call the meeting to order, I just would like to announce some of the house rules for the orderly conduct of our meeting this afternoon. First would be, please be advised that microphones of non-program participants will be muted to help keep the background noise to a minimum. Number two, we may request the visiting Rotarians and guests to please type in our comment box your name, your club or affiliation, or the Makati Rotarian that invited you to participate in this meeting so that we can properly acknowledge you later in the course of the program. Number three, for our open forum, after the talk of the speaker, in case you want to ask a question, please use the raise hand button or simply notify us by typing in the comment box. Alternatively, you may want to type in your question, and we will try to accommodate it during the Q&A. Lastly, please don't leave yet after the response of our life-changing presidents, as we will have our group photo with our speaker after the response. With that, I'd like to call on life-changing President Louis for the call to order. Same with the life-changing President Rachel Harrison and the life-changing President Isa Mendoza Espina.
Louis, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati Business District, I now declare this meeting to order.
On behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati San Antonio, I call this meeting to order.
Thank you for that. Next in the agenda is the invocation. We'd like to call on our dear past champion President Mache for the invocation.
Thank you so much, future President Johnny. All right, so let us all put ourselves in the holy presence of God. Let us offer this prayer to all the victims of the pandemic and for the healing of our nation. O God Almighty, when evil darkens our world, give us light. When despair numbs our souls, give us hope. When we stumble and fall, lift us up. When doubts assail us, give us faith. When nothing seems sure, give us trust. When ideals fade, give us vision. When we lose our way, be our guide. That we may find serenity in your presence and purpose in your will. For we trust in you, so fill our hearts with faith in your love, that with calm expectancy we may make room for your power to possess us and gracefully accept your healing. Through God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, you renew our lives mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. As you renew our souls, you keep us whole in your divine and loving light forever. Everyone, amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, CP Mache. Next in the agenda is the national anthem, followed by the Rotary Club of Makati hymn. Ron?
And together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, prepared to aid our fellow men. As true Rotarians we live to lead. We believe in service above self, and this is why we succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club of Makati.
Yeah. Thank you. Together, my fellow Rotarians, let us jointly remember our four-way test of things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will
Is
it
it
build goodwill
better
and
friendship.
better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Next are greetings, birthday greetings, and wedding anniversary celebrators. For birthdays, we have Rotarian PP Chito Chavez, October 4. Ambet Andres, October 6. RC Makati San Antonio. PP Robin Llamas, October 18. RC Makati San Antonio. And then Rotarian Rogerson D, October 19 for RC Makati San Antonio. Among our Rotary aunts, Ann Nancy C, October 7, and Ann Marla Calleja, October 10. And then for wedding anniversaries, we have Butch and Crisel Medalla, October 7. Architect June and Wilma Palafox, October 7. Rotarian Peter and Jenny Nang, October 8. And then John and Hani Araneta, October 10 from RC Makati San Antonio. Next is acknowledgement of visiting guests and visiting Rotarians. Let me just get my list. We'd like to acknowledge the following Rotary Aunts present: Marilu Alejandro, Ann Nelly Bengson, Ann Yvonne Kuan, and Ann Terry Tambunting. Of course, we have our dignitaries, past District Governor Tony Kila, District Governor-elect Mildred Vitangcol, DCC Doris Insomo, and AG Peaches Reyes. Of course, we also would like to acknowledge the presence of life-changing presidents Jay Inage, RC Alabang Corporate Center, Noemi Benigno, RC Makati Bonifacio, life-changing President Cory Navarro, RC Makati EDSA, LCP Rodney Hernandez, RC Makati Nielsen, and then LCP Buddy Madrigal, RC Parañaque Poblacion. And we also have the following guests present. So Rosario Calixto Chavez and past President Avelin Jans from RC Parañaque Metro. So to our Rotary Aunts and guests, welcome to our meeting this afternoon. Next item in our agenda is the President's Time. May I call first LCP Louis Asioche for his President's Time.
Thank you, Johnny. We also have as a dignitary our RAED and CP Mache Ackerman. So welcome. So we just had our governor's visit last week, and based on the reactions I gathered from District Governor Joji Tan and her team, we carved a rather good impression upon them with what we have accomplished in just 3 months in terms of our service projects and TRF contributions, and how we are contributing to meeting RI goals and district thrusts. The governor's visit was unprecedented in 2 ways. One, it was the maiden or the first visit of a sitting governor to a club in District 3830. And 2, it was a visit to a club which has not done an induction of its officers yet. My thanks to my fellow board members for their excellent reports and for the work they have put in to meet our service targets. I told Governor Joji that even if I am the one visible in all the club's service projects outside, the members of my board have been tirelessly working in the background. There is one area, my club mates, we really need to work on, and that is membership growth. This is a global concern that seems to be getting more critical. In our own club, the Rotary Club of Makati, we have a Herculean task ahead of us. Even with the induction of 3 new members last week, this is where I will be needing your support. The district growth goal is 15%. And with our club having a base of 120 members, we need to bring in 18 new members, a very tall order by any stretch of the imagination. So we have a huge challenge in our hands. Heed our call of each one, bring one. Those of you who have been eyeing your prospects for quite some time now, please bring them in. Tomorrow, Director Ferdy Ordovesa, Rotarian Jay Savage, and I will pay a visit to our Books Across the Seas warehouse in Novaliches to check out our existing inventory of books and also to check on how things are with our personnel there, Sally Pasage. Recently, 4 clubs have expressed intentions to partner with us in the distribution of these books. The RC Circuit Makati, led by LCP Irene Hong, RC Makati San Antonio, who's with us today, LCP Aiza Mendoza Espina, RC Makati Circle of Friends, LCP Nelia Sarcol, and RCP Makati Ayala Triangle, led by LCP Presiulo. Of these 4, the RC Circuit Makati had already withdrawn its order of books from our warehouse. Today, we welcome our Rotarians from our district, in particularly those from RC Business District and RC Makati San Antonio, who are joining us and co-hosting this meeting with us. Welcome as well to our guest speaker, Rotarian Ambaree Majumder of the Rotary Club of Marina City in Singapore. This is our 5th joint meeting with other clubs this year, the 3rd with clubs in our district. As I have mentioned previously, we plan to have more of these meetings and take advantage of the technology that allows us to touch base and explore areas of cooperation with other clubs, especially our sister clubs. Next Tuesday, we will have another joint meeting, this time with RCE in Laguna, our brother club, and the RC Makati Premier District, our daughter club. Our speaker would be no less than the young and inspiring NEDA Secretary, Carl Kendrick Chua. We hope you can join us again next week. Finally, I just want to remind that October is Economic Development Month in the Rotary world, which is one of the 7 areas of focus of Rotary International. For the Rotary Club of Makati, several of our projects are under this area of focus. We have the Rotary Homes, in which we have been an active supporter. Just last Rotary year, we pledged to build 39 homes for the new Rotary Home site in Muntinlupa. We are now in the process of soliciting contractor bids to do the project and in organizing the community there as an RCC, as we hope to turn over at least half of those houses to the beneficiaries before this year ends. Secretary Eddie Galvez has volunteered to be the lead person in organizing this RCC and RCM homes in Muntinlupa. Also, one of my pet projects for this Rotary year is under this area of focus as well, which is the feedback program in partnership with Advancement of Rural Kids, or ARC, where we aim to promote a sustainable vegetable exchange in select communities. 4 communities have already started in Laguna, and 6 more are due to start in La Libertad, Negros Oriental, which was also the site of our dorm project in 2019. Much as we want to pay a personal visit to these 2 sites in Laguna and in Negros Oriental, the travel restrictions have forced us to monitor the progress of these projects through our so-called champions on site. In Bai, we have Director Ferdy Ordovesa checking things there constantly. At La Libertad, Secretary Eddie Galvez is eyeing leaders who will check the project in those 6 communities in Negros Oriental. We hope you can visit these sites this month, as we will report these as our Rotary Day of Service. That's all.
Thank you, hardworking LCP Louis. May I call on LCP Rachel and for her president's time, and then to be followed by LCP Isa.
Good afternoon, everyone. Number 1, I wish to report on our latest project, which is actually ongoing at this very moment, a reading program to street children in Baseco, Manila, in collaboration with World Vision. As I'm speaking, the batch of books are being delivered by the Library Partnership of Canteen Pastrana. Number 2, in a week, I will be formally inducted as club president via Zoom, as well as it's actually our governor's visit too. The program will commence at 7 p.m. on 11th October 2021, and I invite everyone here today to join. More information will be circulated after this meeting. Number 3, on the 26th of September, we officially launched our global grant, GG 2099365, delivering solar lighting to the IP community settlement in Porac, Pampanga, along with a Rotary Day of Service involving 61 other clubs. We were able to fulfill the 7 areas of focus. To show you a little bit more about what happened there, please allow me to show this short video, which will give you the feel of what happened during the day. Ron, please play the video. Enjoy. Thank you. I just add that it was a very eventful day with our governor, dear Governor Georgie Tan was there, and of course, Louis donating computer and Isa as well. It was a wonderful day of fellowship with all the 61 other clubs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, LCP Rachel. May call on LCP Isa for your president's time.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Ron, please run the slides. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'll be reporting on our project starting from October 1st. Okay, we had an agricultura with the Rotary Club of Muntinlupa Central and our respective Rotaract clubs. This is to teach and provide seedlings so that the poorer communities can plant their own food. I hope that more clubs would actually support this project because we will not only provide you with the materials, the kits, we will also teach your adopted community on how to plant their food in their own backyards. Okay, and then on October 2, we went off with 20 other clubs within the district to Calayon, Nasugbu, Batangas for a relief operation. That was for the victims of Calayo, Nasugbu, Batangas. If you're wondering why, what happened to them, their houses were washed away because they were living actually quite near the shore, and a huge wall was built there by a private resort. So it relocated the way of the water and it directed to the homes of the people that were living there. So together with the 20 clubs, we all brought our stuff to give a little help to almost 100 residents. And today, of course, we have this meeting. And personally, I am looking forward to everything that Ambaree will be saying. So I hope also that our friends who are into vegan, vegetarian food will also log in. And then for the future projects within October, next slide, please. We will be having our first RDS, the 100 Miles for 100 Smiles. It will be for a small community up in Sitio Kaitahan in Nueva Ecija. Our first community assessment was done initially by our partners in that area and confirmed by our club personally within the month of September, where we also did our first turnover of donations. And other activities and donations for this community will be done within the month of October. And then we will be having e-consulta in partnership with the Rotary Club of Makati, Dasmariñas. This will be serving Barangay BF's Ipil site, Clinicville, and Target for mid-October to mid-November. And then this is a possible project, the school panels in Sitio Bacal. This is not yet sure, but it may be another RDS or simply a joint project with us with other clubs, particularly with the Rotary Club of Makati Poblacion and several other clubs. We will be having more info on this after this meeting. That's all for October. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, LCP Isa. At this point, we will do our introduction of the guest speaker. May I call past President Doris Ensomo from RC Makati, San Antonio, to introduce our guest speaker this afternoon.
Thank you, Rotarian Johnny. Protocol has been observed earlier, but allow me to greet the three LCPs here co-hosting this event. LCP Luis Aseoche of RC Makati, LCP Rachel Harrison of RC Makati Business District, LCP Isa Mendoza Espina of my club, Rotary Club of Makati, San Antonio. And of course, I would like to greet our past district governor, Tony Quila, and our district governor-elect, Mildred Bitangol. And I would like to make a special mention for IPP Peter Manzano, who is the chair for environmental protection of the areas of focus of the district under my team, Community Service Committee. IPP Peter is instrumental in getting our guest speaker for today. So to all of you, Rotarians, guests, friends, family, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Our guest speaker for today is based in Singapore. She is a member, just like me. We are both members of ESRAG, or Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. But while I'm a member, she is the regional head for the Southeast Asian chapter. Our speaker is a second generation Rotarian. She is a member of the Rotary Club of Marina City in Singapore. She is an IT analyst by profession, but for the past few years, she has been spending most of her time as a social entrepreneur, giving talks, writing, and conducting workshops about how leading a lifestyle that is attuned with the well being of our planet also benefits our health and our fellow Earth creatures. She has a certification in plant-based nutrition and food sustainability from eCornell, or the online version of Cornell University. She is leading her club and the region in Singapore in environmental projects. She is a member of the task force Plant Rich Diet under ESRAG. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you my fellow comrade in environmental protection, Ambaree Majumder.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doris. And I am just blown away with whatever I just saw. I mean, I really love the video in which I think there was a day's activities were shown. I've never been to the Philippines, but I've seen it through the eyes of my domestic health. She's been with me for a very long time, so I know a few things, but I'm just very, very delighted. Thank you so much, Doris. Thank you so much, President Louis, for reaching out to me. I'm very excited today, and I'd like to start with sharing my slides. If you can confirm that, just a second. Yeah, can everybody see my slide?
Yes, we can.
All right, okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you once again for inviting me to your meeting today. My name is Ambaree, as Doris introduced me. And thank you, Doris, again, and thank you, everybody else. My presentation today is called Our Plate and the Planet. And as the name suggests, we will be looking at really why is it so important today to be aware of what we choose to eat on a daily basis in the context of the well-being of our planet, and really to what extent is our plate intertwined with the future of our planet. So if you look at global warming as a process, we will notice that it is not just one isolated problem, but it is actually the result of a combination of many complex, interconnected natural systems that seem to have fallen out of their natural balance. Each of these problems, as you can see here, influence one another and collectively contribute to climate change on different dimensions and to different degrees. Let me introduce you to that economic sector which has a major role to play in all of these concern areas that add to climate change. And that is industrialized agriculture. According to a report by Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is IPCC, created by the United Nations, this is that sector which exigently influences various parameters that are directly contributing to climate change. Whether it is greenhouse gas emissions, water pollution, soil degradation, wildlife extinction, habitat loss, marine ecosystem disruptions, the common factor that plays a significant role in all of these systems to fall out of balance is our unsustainable food systems. The problem with our current food system is that when food production was being industrialized decades ago, the majority of the agricultural practices were designed to produce crops and livestock for a much smaller population. The global population at that time was way smaller. They had a one-point agenda to maximize profitability and productivity through commodification and appropriation. There was absolutely no environmental obligation attached to them, because at that time there was no environmental issue. Like 50, 60, 70 years ago, there was no climate change. Nobody was talking about climate change. Nobody was really talking about global warming. Therefore, at that time, chemicals and machinery were indiscriminately employed without much foresightedness of the well-being of the planet. However, today, now, there are many, many more people in this world that need to be fed. And our natural resources are being stretched thin because of a high demand for certain foods. So here are some of the commonly produced foods that we eat in high or moderate quantities on a daily basis. Some of them happen to be the most profitable products for the food industry. Hence, their presence is seen almost everywhere. You go everywhere, you will probably see some of these. They're easily available because they are the most profitable. We will quickly glance through a few visuals to get an idea about really which products are causing the maximum and the minimum disruptions. So this is a general representation of the kind of impact that the production of 100 grams of protein has on the planet. So we can have proteins that come from animals, and then there are proteins that come from plants. It is clear that almost all the food that is derived from the livestock industry, which meaning the animals, lies in the 90th percentile spectrum. The amount of carbon emissions and land use caused by animal sourced proteins is strikingly larger than the plant protein sources. So products like beef, lamb, mutton, cheese, pork, in comparison to, let's say, plant protein sources like legumes or peas, and cow's milk in comparison to plant milk, require way more resources to be produced, processed, packaged, and finally transported. And unfortunately, it does not end here. The post-production environmental cost of animal-based proteins lingers way after the products have been consumed, which are seen in the form of acidification and eutrophication. So aggravated acidification and eutrophication are processes that are responsible for incredible destruction of marine and land ecosystems. So this is another representation, another study which has been done by Pure and Nemesek that gives us an idea about the greenhouse gas emissions associated with different food products. As you may know, the three main greenhouse gases that are emitted by the agriculture sector are firstly carbon dioxide, then we have methane, and then we have nitrous oxide. But which products are producing the maximum emissions is what we are trying to find here. The most obvious thing that you can see here is the difference in how much emissions are caused by the animal source products as opposed to plant source products. Even if you look at the lowest carbon emitting meat, like for example, poultry, even that causes more than 5 times carbon emissions than, let's say, a plant protein like pulses or legumes. In general, according to ResearchGate, farm-based animal products production, the whole process of production of animal products contributes 4 times more than the total greenhouse gas emissions than plants. The main reason, so you might be wondering, why is there such a big difference? So the main reason why food coming from ruminants, which basically include our cattle and sheep, which produce meat and dairy, cause such excessive emissions is because they produce a greenhouse gas called methane, which is 21 times more potent than carbon dioxide weight-wise. And your average ruminant produces 250 to 500 liters of methane every single day. In the same context, I'd like to bring your attention to the latest report that the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, again IPCC, under United Nations, released on 9th of August this year, like 2 months ago. And this is the most advanced climate report that highlights the dire state of the current climate situation and why time is completely running out faster than it was predicted in earlier environmental findings. What stands out in this assessment report 6, they call it assessment report 6, there have been 5 reports which have come out before this. So what stands out in this report is the starkest warning yet by the scientists about the absolute urgency with which we need to substantially bring down the global methane emissions if we want to halt the speed with which we are rushing to a complete climate breakdown. The report says with high confidence that limiting global warming to close to 1.5 degrees Celsius or even 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels will actually go beyond our reach in the next 2 decades without immediate, rapid, and large-scale reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And we have to start thinking about methane. So here are some of the snapshots of media articles published soon after the report, and I just thought that highlighting them might be interesting for all of you. Now let's talk about water. So this is a graph showing the water footprint of some of the foods we just discussed, and this is by the World Resources Institute. Here as well, the foods that are lined high up are those that come from livestock, and it takes about 47 times more water to produce 1 kg of beef as compared to 1 kg of vegetables. The difference is clear and probably deserves our attention. Growing animal feed for raising billions of livestock requires enormous quantities of water in comparison to plant foods. For example, to grow 1 pound of chicken, it takes more than 500 gallons of water. In general, the thumb rule has been that the lower you eat in the food chain, the less water intensive or resource intensive your food is going to be. So having spoken about the gas emissions and water footprints, I'd like to speak a little bit about the land footprint and the biomass distribution of land mammals, because I feel that a lot of eventualities can be addressed if we address this. So with an exponential growth in the number of farmed animals on the planet, the reason why there are so many farmed animals on this planet is not because they are naturally reproducing so much. It is happening because we are breeding them, we are raising them to meet the demand for animal products in human diets. So because of this skyrocketing growth in the number of farmed animals on the planet, space for wildlife, unfortunately, is shrinking every day. And we know the significance of wild animals in the context of our planet. The reason for that is this demand for meat, dairy, and eggs from around the world, because of which forests, including rainforests, are being indiscriminately cleared. Thousands of miles of rainforests are being destroyed to make space for growing animal feed or for cattle ranching. This is the main reason why more than half of the land mammal biomass comprises of farmed animals right now, and less than 5% is comprised of wildlife.
Chicken very soft.
Okay, so the role of Amazon rainforest, or actually any other rainforest for that matter, the role that these rainforests play in sustaining life on our planet is something that we all know. We cannot be living without our rainforests. But according to an article by WWF, cattle ranching ranks first in causing deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. This obviously snowballs into other natural reactions like erratic weather conditions, like droughts and floods, and natural habitat loss, wild flora and fauna extinction, and ecosystem disruption. And some of these problems, unfortunately, have reached a point of irreversibility. Now we come to that problem, which is one of the most profound reasons why livestock is even being discussed from all over the world today. And that is animal feed, meaning what is it that the animals eat? So although there are several issues with this, like before industrialization happened, farmers would grow food for their animals in the backyard. So the food and the animals would, in most cases, be very close to one another. So there was no need for animal feeds to be transported from one place to another. However, now food for livestock is grown in USA and Brazil and shipped to China, and that's an example. This practice has a massive environmental cost associated with the animal agriculture sector. That is because farmers are not growing foods like that anymore. Animals are being bred in industrialized scale. Another problem with animal feed is that due to an incredibly high demand, millions of tons of soy and corn, which forms the primary source of food for farmed animals, are grown in monoculture fashion, which has several primary and secondary detrimental environmental effects. In the next two slides, I will be touching upon the inefficient calorie conversion and the problem of animal feed versus human food. The pressing point about animal feed is how animals are fundamentally inefficient at processing their feed into foods that we can eat. Chicken is a good example. I'll take the example of chicken. So it takes 9 calories of feed crops like soy or corn to get 1 calorie in the form of meat. And that is after decades of breeding and optimizing chickens and minimizing their movement to conserve their energy. That represents about 90% of food waste before reaching any form of further processing or getting anywhere close to the consumer, which is us. So even before it reached us, there has already been so much of wastage of resources and food. And because of that inherent inefficiency, we need to use up to 9 times as much resources like land, fertilizers, pesticides, and water, while adding up greenhouse gas emissions at every stage of the process. The numbers for chicken are quite pale in comparison to other types of animal products like dairy and lamb and beef. The last problem with the proportion of the global crop growth, which humans eat versus what is grown to feed the animals. So as you can see here, more than 35% of the global crop production is used for livestock. So we might want to take note that there is a huge angle of sustainability here. Today, the world produces enough grains to feed all human beings and even more, which means we are producing enough for everyone for all the humans in this planet. So why is it that we have so many hungry people? That is because a large portion of these grains are being fed to the 70 billion farmed animals every single year, while 8 million people are sleeping hungry every single day. We could easily have a well-fed world where all humans would be fed well, only if in some way we could redirect most of the food that we grow for people rather than investing in livestock. Things that are probably going to get worse when 2 billion more people will need to be fed by 2050. That is the projected number. With our natural resources being already stretched thin, it will almost be impossible to support a skyrocketing demand for meat, dairy, and eggs within the affluent societies and 2 billion additional mouths to be fed around the world. It will only mean more hunger, more malnutrition, and unfortunate food injustice. The demand for animal products in developing countries has gone through the roof in the past few years, which has caused large-scale animal operations to start functioning, where they are breeding and raising more animals, giving rise to growing millions of tons of feed crops. I want to make a special mention about commercial fishing and the seafood consumption figures, because this area often gets forgotten. This, despite the United Nations estimating that up to 95% of the global ocean damage is a direct result of bottom trawling. If you don't know what is bottom trawling, then bottom trawling takes place when fishing boats as big as football fields, when they drag giant nets across the ocean floor to scrape up fish and a staggering amount of marine life, including sea turtles, dolphins, coral reefs, sea lions, basically anything and anybody that come in their way. And these non-target victims are called bycatches. And all of these animals, that is the sea turtles and the sea lions and even the small plankton, microscope planktons, all of them have very, very important and significant ecological roles to play. But because of the high demand for seafood, bottom trawling is happening, which is completely destroying the ocean floor and the marine habitats for all of these animals. Secondly, industrial fishing breeds and raises many predator fish like salmon. Billions of small wild fish need to be caught to feed all of the farmed fish, giving rise to an aggressive cycle of excessive fishing. According to proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, it takes 5 pounds of ocean fish to produce just 1 pound of farmed salmon. So here as well, you see a tremendous inefficiency in the calorie conversion like in land livestock. And lastly, one of the most compelling problems, which I personally feel is one of the most compelling problems, is that of the abandoned fishing nets and gears called ghost nets. So there are thousands of meters of fishing nets that are abandoned or lost in the ocean waters every single year by the fishing industry. Protected animals, again, like dolphins and turtles and sea lions, get entangled and injured in these nets and hooks, and they eventually either die of asphyxiation or starvation. This is a sea turtle who was found in this state, entangled in fishing nets by an underwater photographer in 2019 around Barcelona. So, our oceans actually, in the real sense, are in big trouble right now. The average person now eats almost twice as much seafood as they did 50 years ago. It is estimated that we are pulling over a trillion fish out of our oceans every single year, and 94% of our ocean fisheries are now either overfished or maximally fished. After having spoken about the many problems with our animal agriculture sector, the, uh, uh, the fundamental principles based on which this sector works is a problem. But I'd like to show you a plausible solution that each one of us can implement to target most of these troubled areas. And I want to just say that I'm not asking anybody or everybody to become vegetarian or vegan. I'm vegan myself, but I'm not really asking you to become vegan. But I'm going to tell you something else, another way of solving it. So although it all might seem overwhelming at the first glance, I want to share with you that being a consumer in today's world is a position of amazing power. All we need to do is to collectively shift the demand for animal products to some extent by taking a personal responsibility to make sure that whenever we can, we eat a plant rich meal. So, what is a plant rich meal? A plant rich meal is rich in whole grains, which means basically our rice and breads and wheats, oats, millets. It is rich in whole grains, it is rich in legumes, fruits and vegetables, and minimal or less in foods that come from livestock like meat, dairy, eggs, fish, and seafood, because they use up the maximum amount of natural resources. The way we grow and consume food can be an immediate positive impact almost in all the dimensions that are causing climate change, which I mentioned earlier. So modifying our consumption patterns, which is a demand side solution, would not require any technological innovation. It totally would depend on what we choose to eat. Other important and long-term changes like modifying our electrical grids to use cleaner forms of energies would need years of research, programming, testing, and implementation, whereas eating a plant-rich meal whenever possible can be done immediately and can give us the necessary time to look for solutions to other problems like fossil fuels in the long run. Of course, there's no denying that growing food, whether it is plants or animals, both hurt the environment, but the difference is evident. So yes, growing plants also will have some impact on the planet, but only a minuscule fraction compared to breeding livestock. According to World Resources Institute, reducing consumption of animal-based foods among the world's population could free up significant amounts of land, possibly enabling the world to feed 10 billion people in 2050 without agriculture further expanding into forests. This is a visual that was tweeted by the United Nations Environment Program in 2015. It basically highlights how more than 4,000 liters of water is required to produce just 1 kg of chicken. And in this post, they ask us to save ourselves time, but it also saves the planet by by not consuming the entire chicken breast at one go, but to space out our consumption. In other words, consume less chicken at one go. Save water and reduce food waste. Again, chicken ranks the lowest among the different meat products that itself is so water intensive. For beef, dairy products like butter and mutton, like these products rank much higher than chicken in their water footprints. According to Project Drawdown, which is one of the most comprehensive set of climate solutions, reducing the current trend of overconsumption of animal-based foods ranks 4 for us to achieve a sustainable future for our future generations and the planet. According to the Center for Nutrition Studies, even if 38%, so they've done this study on the US population, but of course it holds true for everybody. Even if 38%, with less than half of the US population gave up eating meat and dairy even once a week, it would be equivalent to 1.6 million cars off the road for a year. I did some calculations. So in context, there are about 700,000 Tesla cars sold in a year. If most of the population in the US gave up animal products 1 day a week, just 1 day a week, then the environmental impact of that will be equivalent to taking 5 million cars off the road, which is equal to 7 years of Tesla sales. So the point I'm trying to make is that what we eat needs addressing when we talk about the environment as much as which car we drive, if not more. And our plates today might be more connected to the planet than we ever thought. So every single meal matters, every single meal, every time we sit down to eat, at least 3 times or sometimes more than 3 times in a day. Every time we sit down to eat can be an opportunity for us to help in freeing up precious natural resources in significant numbers, as you can see here. If not a plant-based meal, then even if it is a plant-rich meal with more plants in it and less animal products, even then, consistent small consumption changes can potentially give us large environmental benefits. So another good reason to minimize the intake of animal-based products is that nutritional science has proven that eating a well-balanced plant-based diet can meet all of our nutritional requirements. In fact, eating a diet rich in plants have been shown to prevent and reverse many chronic diseases, chronic lifestyle-related diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and also certain cancers. I have reversed one disease myself. So I have reversed one disease myself, about which I can tell you after I'm almost done. I would like to end my talk now by showing you how interesting and enticing plant-based foods can be. Eating these beautiful dishes are the best that we can do for our planet and for our own health, because it's often thought that plant-based foods are boring and they don't taste good. So these pictures, I just think that kind of prove that to be wrong. So if you're keen to learn and explore about plant-rich diets, then you can sign up for our global 15-day plant-rich diet challenge, which is running right now. It started on 1st of October and it finishes on 15th of October. We have recipes that we share. One recipe a day we will share, and then we will talk about the different scientific findings that are going on. And we have a stellar speaker series where scientists and educators and cooking enthusiasts are going to give live talks. So you can join those talks. And yeah, with that, I think I've come to the end of my talk. I will just type the link for you to sign up for this 15-day plant-rich diets challenge. You'll get one email every day with interesting stuff. And with that, I'd like to end my talk. Thank you so much. I'll be very happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ambaree. We're opening the table for any questions that you may have with our guest speaker. I'm checking the chat box if there's any, but I think there's none.
I believe Architect Palafox is raising his hand.
Okay. Architect June, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very insightful, informative. If I may, I'm also a member of SRAC, Rotary International. I'm June Palafox. I'm a working class architect and environmental planner. And if we address our environmental concerns in our country, 7 of the worst polluters in the top 10 worst polluters rivers in the world are in the Philippines. Number 1 is Pasig River. And we have a stupid law. I'm sorry. We have obsolete law in our country banning incinerators. And in Singapore, you have the waste to energy plants. In Singapore, you decompose plastic in 24 hours. In our country, because of that obsolete law banning incinerators, it takes 500 years to decompose plastic. That's one. And in our planning communities, including India, I had introduced kitchen gardens. Every home must have a kitchen garden. Agropolis, agro the farm, polis the city, in some of our projects in 39 countries. Because the food miles, the food we eat, on the average travels 2,000 miles to the table. So how much environment is consumed there? And unfortunately, especially with this pandemic now, the biggest concerns are food security, health, and digital. So thank you for this, and maybe you might want to share also how to address these concerns, and maybe Rotary Club, even Rotary Clubs in the Philippines, 180 of our 400 rivers are dead, biologically dead. Maybe that could be a crusade advocacy of SRAG International and Rotary Clubs in the Philippines. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for raising that point. Yeah, I think if you are, although this is outside of the scope of my talk today, but then SRAG is always, we are looking for projects. And if you think that if you have an idea to address this, the river pollution that you're talking about, we can catch up later, and we can think of ways in which a project can be designed, and we can take it forward. Definitely. I mean, that's why SRAG is there, and that's what we want to do. We want long-term projects, environmental projects. Unfortunately, in a way, fortunately, actually, there are not too many environmental issues that Singapore has. So basically, living in Singapore, it becomes rather difficult to address the environmental issues that our neighboring countries are facing. But SRAG is extremely enthusiastic about taking up projects. So I will just write my email ID. If you have anything, any plans that or anything that you would like to discuss, or any expertise that you might need, you can email me, and we can catch up there.
Thank you, man. Singapore is in the top 10 in the world in urban farming. It's also number 10 in the world in addressing environmental issues. So maybe the Rotary Club of Singapore may want to educate our leaders of industry and government in our part of the world. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing a hand from past President Fred. I'll give the table to you.
Thank you, Jenny. Ambaree,
Yes.
we accept the argument, that the shift from animal-based diet to plant-based diet will result in favorable impacts on our environment. Now, I wonder, eating is a cultural thing. The choice of food is a cultural thing. Are you aware of any massive programs by anyone or any groups that will create this cultural shift so that people will begin preferring plant-based food over animal-based food?
You mean if there is an organization? Are you talking
Well,
about
like your organization, what is it doing aside from just sending one recipe a day?
Okay. So if you're talking about the task force that I'm heading, which is the Plant-Rich Diet Task Force, actually you said it in your question itself that it's a cultural thing. What we eat is also something that we have been taught by our ancestors. So it's a little bit more complex than any other environmental solution, because we are by telling somebody that probably your eating habit is causing a problem to the planet. I'm actually entering their kitchens, and I'm actually sitting at their dining tables with them uninvited. But the reason why we are doing it is because this shift is absolutely imperative if we want to change the way the speed with which climate change is happening. There are no arguments about that we need to change the way we eat. Now coming to so that's why, because it is so intrusive in nature, although it is a solution, but it is intrusive in nature, we take it very, very gently. We make sure that we are very gentle in our approach, and that's why we send one recipe every day, just for people to start trying. Now, talking about organizations, there are many organizations around the world who are talking about it and persuading people to change the way they eat, introducing recipes to them, giving them the reason to change, because some people are just not motivated enough to change the way they eat unless they see the kind of devastation, or rather unless they see the kind of solution they can bring in by just changing one eating habit. Like, for example, change one meal a day, or change just your lunch, let's say, just modify it a little bit. And so there are many organizations. You can take a look at, why do I not just write them here? You can look at Climate Healers, then you have Sentient Media, then you have, on the top of my mind, what do we have? Plant-based data. Yeah, so these are the .org. These are the organizations which you can take a look at. They are doing extensive work in this subject, and I think they might be able to enlighten you more on this. And of course, we are there. I forgot about my own organization. Let me send you the, so if you go to SRAG Plant-Rich Diet, you will see our page as well. Did I answer your question?
Could I ask a question, Johnny? Or hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Between fish, poultry, pork, or beef, what priorities should we put last? Okay, beef should be last, or considering some of us really can't be purely vegetarian.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I mentioned during my talk, is that I'm not asking really that everybody should become vegetarian or everybody should become vegan. To answer your question, it really so it really depends on your approach. Like, for example, let's say that at one point, okay, let's say that taking my example, let's say that today I eat everything, right? Assuming that I eat everything, and after I have done my own research, and after I've understood the science and the research that has gone behind this whole problem, I decide that, okay, I want to modify my diet a little bit. So what should I do first? Okay, let me just reduce beef. But when I reduce beef, am I compensating that with more chicken or more seafood or more dairy? Or am I compensating the reduction in my beef consumption with more plants? if you substitute your not substitute, if you modify your diet in a way where you reduce your animal product consumption and lift up your plant consumption, so which means whole grains and legumes and fruits and vegetables, then you are definitely being a part of the solution. However, if you replace beef with mutton or mutton with another animal product, then actually the shift is not really, the solution is not really happening. It's like moving from uh, one avenue of a problem to another avenue of a problem, not really jumping the whole way to the solution. So the answer to answer your question, as long as you are reducing your consumption of animal products, any animal product, and elevating your plant consumption, you are doing a great job.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Johnny,
Yeah,
may I
architect.
jump in?
Architect
June
June.
Palafox again.
Yeah, please. Yes, architect June, please.
Yeah, the question of past president Fred, and one of the best past presidents of University of Philippines about organizations. Chuchi Buddhist International Organization, headquartered in Taiwan, they are my clients. Every time I do projects for them, hospitals, schools, and housing projects for post-disaster areas in Nepal, Kathmandu, in Bam, Iran, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Taiwan. Even my airplane food, they require me to eat vegetarian. When they pay for my airfare, they insist that I must be vegetarian. So they really
Sorry.
and Chuchi now, even in the Philippines, during this pandemic, they're offering for the urban poor vegetarian food. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share. Thank you. Chuchi organization, the Buddhist organization.
And there's a question, I'd like to take it. How much of the global warming is being caused by the food industry versus the other global warming activities of humans? So, sorry, is it okay? Can I take that question?
Yes.
Good
Ambaree.
question. Yeah.
Okay, so Keith asked that question, and I think it's a very, very important question. Thank you for asking it. If you look at human activities, then one activity that every human being takes part in multiple times in a day is that we all eat multiple times in a day. So the food industry actually is the center, is the central industry around which every other industry functions. Because if the food industry does not is not able to give services to us, then nothing else really matters. Because that is that is actually the elephant in the room, and we have to address the elephant in the room. So to answer your question in terms of numbers, it is seen that the food industry is actually responsible for 87% of, okay, so this is something that I'm not 100% sure of, but from what I can recall, 87% of the forests, agricultural land, is actually being used for livestock breeding. So 87% is because of livestock breeding, and the 37% of greenhouse, between 30 to 37% of greenhouse gases come into our atmosphere because of agriculture, animal agriculture. So it is definitely a significant player in global warming, and most of the times the reason why this is not highlighted as much as it deserves is because the dairy and the meat and egg and seafood industries, these function on a lot of subsidies which are offered to them by the governments, all the governments. And however, now with social media and with much more research going on, and with the kind of emergency that we have in our hand, the climate emergency that we have in our hand, a lot of people, like millions of people, I don't know what's happening in the Philippines, but if you see in Singapore or the US or the UK, young people and old people too are becoming very conscious about what they eat, and therefore there is a booming plant-based alternative market in the world, in many countries. Singapore is one of them in Asia. I've felt that because I'm vegan, so I know how difficult it used to be before to get vegan food compared to how it is now. So the boom is just unmistakable. You cannot ignore it, and that is the reason why the demand is going up, because people are becoming very aware of the kind of impact their food choices are having on the planet.
Yeah.
Johnny?
Yeah, thank you. We still have one other question that was posted by Keith in the
Yeah,
chat.
I'm just reading that.
Hmm.
So he says, we often see that animal food is cheaper than veg food. Yeah, the veggie or mushroom burger is not cheaper than the hamburger. Do you think taxes need to be applied to level this imbalance? Yeah, yes. Carbon taxes. There is a case going on, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know, I cannot recall, about dairy and meat companies. Uh, the environmentalists are basically saying that you must pay taxes. So if you just think about it logically, a beef burger, before it comes to us on our plate, the animal needs to be needs to come into this world, needs to be bred, needs to grow. To grow that animal, I need to provide that animal with food, with water, with ranching space, and of course I need to grow that food. For such a big animal, I need to grow a lot of food, right? And I need a lot of land. So by the time it comes to me, it would have consumed so much of the natural resources, and then when it comes to me, why is it that it is so cheap? So the reason for that is that these products have humongous subsidies which are offered by the governments all around the world. And the thing is, the irony is that there is no company selling, let's say, a broccoli. There's no ad about broccoli, but there is an ad. You'll find an ad for KFC. You'll find mega ads about, what is the other thing? McDonald's. Sorry, I can't believe I forgot. So McDonald's, and there are global ads happening everywhere. But really, nobody is selling broccoli. Nobody is selling other plant-based foods. So that's the reason why that's, so to answer your question, I definitely feel that there has to be a tax that needs to be imposed.
Johnny, can I jump in again?
Yes, please, Architect.
Yeah, I have to revisit my numbers because 70% of carbon footprinting greenhouse gas emission, 70% is buildings and transportation. 39% for buildings. The balance 70% is transportation. And you said food is 37%, so it went beyond 100% already. So I may have to revisit my numbers. Thank you for sharing. That's a good question from Keith, by the way. Thank you.
So this food, these figures, they are obviously they are like every country's like, for example, what I'm trying to say is that they are a little bit dynamic in nature. So in certain reports, they will say 30%, somebody would say 37, somebody would probably would. So there is a climate healers. If you look at climate healers, according to their research, it is 83% or 80 something percent with of greenhouse gases which are caused by animal agriculture, because they have accounted also for the breeding of the animals, the 70 billion farmed animals which are there in this on the planet. And yeah, so the numbers, basically the fact is that the numbers are staggering, and if we are really serious about saving the planet on an individual level, and we want to go beyond lip service, because sustainability and global warming and climate change have become a very cool topics nowadays to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about it, but really, if we really want to do something for the planet and for our future generations, the best thing that we can do is to reduce our animal product consumption, and so that the pressure on our natural resources comes down. Yeah. So, Mohan, I got your message. I will write to you. I'll just take a photo.
Jenny,
Yes.
may I just make a follow-up question?
Yeah, please, PP Fred.
Ambaree, I wonder, are we barking at the right tree? In developing countries, nutrition is a problem, and the supply of animal protein is very limited. I don't think we can make a dent, if all Filipinos turn vegetarians. The big problems are in the industrialized countries of North America and Europe. If they are the ones to heed your call, then that will make a big dent on the problem of global warming. Are there organizations like you doing the same thing in these more developed countries?
Yes, there are many organizations.
And what's the response, in those countries?
So the response as I was saying answering one of the other questions, the response is really warm amongst the young, and that's why you see so many companies who are selling these products which are plant-based, because there's an unmistakable rise in the demand for them, because most of the young people are very aware of what I just said, and they are taking action every single time they go to eat. They look for a planet-friendly meal. So that's why planet-friendly products like plant-based meats are in the markets, plant-based milks are in the markets, plant-based eggs are in the markets in Singapore as well. So the response is very warm amongst the youth. It's lukewarm amongst the older generations, but anything is lukewarm for the older generation. Any kind of change is a little bit difficult for people belonging to the older generations. Something that I could easily, modifying lifestyles is difficult, becomes more and more difficult as you grow older, which is a fact. But there has been amazing response, to be honest, from all around the world. I've spoken at, I don't know how many clubs I've spoken to, like 50-60 clubs around the world about this topic. My teammates are giving talks also about the same thing. To answer your question about developing countries and developed countries, it is actually true that the production of animal products is super high in the US and UK and other developed countries. However, the production, the culture of eating animal products has been very high in many Asian countries as well. And I'm actually not, this talk is not meant for let's say a farmer or a malnutritioned family. They probably will eat whatever is given to them. Climate change is not their priority. Their priority is how to stay alive. Climate change is a priority for people like us who are happy with their life, who are leading a peaceful life, whose stomachs are not empty. So it is only for us, all of us, who are affluent enough to buy any food that we want to buy, that we choose to buy that food which is environmentally low impactful. So animal-based products might not be very accessible to the poor people, but every poor country has affluent societies. especially in Asia, most poor country, they have affluent societies, and it is for the people who are in this society that need to understand that the price of the food is not only the money that we pay to buy. There is an environmental price associated, which is hidden from us, that we don't know, or rather which is hidden from us so that we don't get to know, which the planet pays for. So it is just imperative that we become aware of the price that the planet is paying for our food choices, and each and every person's carbon footprint. We are in such a position right now that everything that we do matters, or everything that we do not do matters. So yes, the consumption of meat, dairy, eggs, and seafood probably is much higher in the US because of their affluence, and lower in countries like the Philippines or India. But there are affluent societies in the Philippines and in India who care about the environment, and to lower their individual carbon footprints is imperative to solve the problem of climate change. Sorry, I think I took too long to answer that question.
Thank you for that, Ambaree. If there are no other questions, I'll move to the response from our life-changing presidents. So I think there's none. So I'll call on LCP Rachel to be followed by LCP Isa, and then LCP Louis for their president's response.
Thank you, Ambaree, for that most enlightening and informative talk. You know, I'm almost plant-based. I'm 80% plant-based, and it all started during the pandemic. And guess what? I actually learned how to be a plant-based chef. So I will definitely sign up for your emails. But I'm also very happy to learn about the methane, the water, deforestation, the bottom trawling, and overfishing. I went into plant-based thinking it's for health, but now I'm so convinced we must all go into plant-based because of what have heard from you, and everybody must hear that. When you were talking, it actually occurred to me that when we did our tummy truck with all the other 11 clubs, actually, we deliberately made the decision to give vegetables to the people that we help. So I'm happy to say that with that decision, we did help the farmers and we did help the environment. So thank you very much again. And we need more talks like you. It's good for the planet, it's good for the environment, and more importantly, at this time, it's wonderful for our health. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm just so excited to hear that you're 80% plant-based. Yeah, so plant-based foods, although what the plant-rich diet advocate is that you go plant-rich, which means you eat more plants and less animal products, but less. If it is zero, then it's the best. When I became 100% plant-based, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I reversed a disease myself. I had autoimmune disease. I still have the autoimmune disease, but because of that autoimmune disease, my thyroid gland was underfunctioning. And when I became 100% plant-based, I was taken off of my medication. My hypothyroidism was reversed. There are hundreds and millions of people who have reversed diabetes, hypertension, autoimmune diseases, and many cancers as well. So you're absolutely right. The diet, which is the best for human health, coincidentally, or I don't know whether it's the game of the gods, that is also the best for the planet. So the gentlest diet is best for us, and it is also the gentlest for the planet. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the challenge. We have many exciting stuff, and then you'll also get the YouTube links of, I did a cooking demonstration like day before yesterday for the challenge where I talked about chickpeas, and I made 3 recipes with chickpeas, because people often think that if you don't eat dairy and meat, you'll fall short of protein, which is of course not true. So I spoke about the plant protein, which is chickpeas, and I made 3 dishes live, so that people know that get to learn about how to include more plant-based proteins in their diets. Yeah, thank you so much.
And you, if I may just add, you are absolutely correct in saying that plant-based is actually very delicious. Yeah. I do have cheat days sometimes, but I'm getting rid of that soon. Yeah, thank you.
LCP,
Journey.
yeah, LCP Isa. Please.
Okay. Hello, Ambaree. I was really looking forward to this talk, because although I am a meat eater, well, my eldest daughter has been a vegetarian. She only eats plant-based food for a few years now, and it was very difficult for me to support, because it was something extra for me to prepare each day, and I couldn't understand why at first. But then at least now, knowing the effects on our planet, I think I will support her on this 100%. So with your very interesting topic, I would like to present you with our version of a certificate, which only you will have.
That's so sweet.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. I hope we will be able to ship this to you.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
I'm so touched. Thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Thank you, thank you. And you should, I did email already my email ID. If you want anything for help, you can just email me. I'm very happy, because even outside of Rotary, this is what I do. And 99% of what I do is free of charge. I only charge when I am asked to collaborate with big plant-based companies. So when somebody is asking whether it is a small local business or just a person from anywhere in the world looking for help, with recipes, or what do I eliminate first, or confusion, what do I eat when I go out, I'm very happy to respond, and I'll be more than happy to help you in any way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Louis.
Thank you again, Johnny. So listening to Ambaree, I was actually reminded of my favorite hero when I was a young kid, Popeye. A constant storyline in that cartoon series is Popeye, the sailor man, would always get pummeled first by his arch enemy Brutus, who was so many pounds heavier. But Popeye always secretly carries a can of spinach in his shirt. So even as we thought that our hero, we have seen the last of our hero, who after getting beaten black and blue by Brutus, somehow miraculously summons or pulls out the can from inside his shirt, opens or unscrews it using his pipe, empties, tosses the can high to the air where the contents are emptied, and descends into his mouth. And our hero suddenly grows biceps and a bulging chest and springs back into action, develops fists shaped like mallets and anvils, and punches Brutus smack in the chin and sends him to the moon. So when our speaker Ambaree talked about the plant-based or plant-rich diet, those were the first things that came into my mind: Popeye and spinach. And the simple basic undertone to it, a plant-based diet would make you healthy and strong. I just don't know if that kind of spinach had preservatives, which is a no-no. We have often heard the smart alecky riposte by carnivores to the vegans. We did not reach the top of the food chain just to become herbivores. But a healthy plant-based diet always figures in whenever you just had your visit to your doctor to show him or her the failing marks in your blood tests. They will invariably tell you this: have a lifestyle change, and that change would always entail a modification of your dietary preference. But the other compelling reason why a plant-based diet is certainly worth considering, if not necessary, are studies showing that a global food system dominated by industrial agriculture, animal agriculture is at the heart of our environmental crisis. Ambaree cited studies showing how animal agriculture occupies over half of the world's arable land resources, uses majority of our freshwater stores, and drives greenhouse gas emissions. And as our guest speaker had said, the real war against climate is being fought right on our plates, on our dinner table, several times a day with the food choices we make. And the paradox is we may be eating ourselves into extinction and we may be doing very little about it. Today, we just heard another fair admonition. So even as we wish to add more mileage to our lives by eating healthy, we must also significantly contribute to cutting our carbon footprint on the food table and ensure that vital crop resources are fed to people rather than livestock. I think people eat more meat for its taste rather than for its nutrition. But unlike before, when plant-based foods appear bland and unexciting, with plenty of restaurants sprouting everywhere nowadays, offering healthy plant-based eating, tastefulness and nutrition appear to be heading towards the same direction. So maybe it's about high time that we heed the call of our guest speaker. It is really a lifestyle change, basically. But rather than just doing this to be in vogue, the imperative really is to eat with the planet in mind. So Ambaree, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, my LCP classmates, our aunts, our district governor, Georgie Tan, the other Rotarians from the different Rotary clubs, and all the other guests in attendance with us today, please accept our heartfelt gratitude.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank
As
you.
token of our appreciation, we will be sending you, like what Isa said, maybe by courier, by plane, by ship, or whatever, a copy of our 50th coffee table book. This contains the achievements of our club for the past 50 years, along with this plant-based wine, which you can imbibe while going through the pages of our book. And we would also be giving you this plaque of appreciation. And this plaque includes a replica of the steel plate with your name on it. This will be put on a reef bud that will be planted in the Sea of Narvacan in Ilocos Sur as part of our Save Our Reefs project, in line with Rotary's 7th area of focus, which is supporting the environment.
Wow.
So now, before we adjourn, may I request everyone to open their video settings for our customary photo op with our distinguished guest speaker, Ambaree. Ron?
Can I just say thank you for a second? Can I just take a minute
Ambaree.
to thank President Louis? I am absolutely touched. And every time I'm interacting with all of you, you guys are just so warm, and I'm letting go of all the formalities. I just feel just so much at home and so welcomed. Thank you so much. I've interacted with Doris a couple of times, and it's been it's all been my pleasure. And today it was an honor and absolute delight for me to interact with all of you. And thank you for the wine and the plant-based wine and the certificate and all the gifts. Thank you so much. I really look forward to visiting the Philippines sometime. Hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen, but then definitely I'm going to come and meet all of you sometime as soon as it's possible for me to step out of Singapore. Thank you.
So much, Ambaree. President Louis, if I can jump in.
Yes, Architect June, yes.
Let's walk the talk. We Makati Rotarians, let's have a vegetarian day, 1 day a week. So let's walk the talk.
In fact, I'll be offering from salad stop. No,
Vegetarian.
that's my
1 day a week.
salad stop.
1 day a week.
Yeah,
We-
plant-based
Okay.
plant-based wine.
Yes.
Plant-based wine. So if you can't modify anything, just modify your wine. Drink a plant-based.
All right.
Okay,
So
thank you. Very nice.
All right, picture first.
Take home lessons. Thank you very much.
One,
Yeah.
two. First window. Second window. Okay. Done.
So in behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
session. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
my classmates too will adjourn their respective club meetings as well. Go ahead, LCP Isa.
Oh, okay. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati San Antonio, I adjourn this meeting.
On behalf of Makati Business District, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.